Do you feel you have as much power as the other two arms of government?
My power is not political. Yeah? The executive decides something which is unconstitutional. The matter comes before me and I tell them in so many words. Parliament comes with something which is unconstitutional. I say, no, you can't do this. That's what I call power.
What do you say to legal scholars within your field who've suggested that the appointment of judges by the president gives the executive arm of government more power over the judiciary?
Then the president will appoint you. But that appointment is not complete until Parliament approves. So if Parliament says, no, Owiny Dollo cannot be a judge, however much the president wants me, he cannot. So how can you say the president is so powerful? Because there are power centers. He cannot pick somebody without the advice of the Judicial Service Commission. He cannot pick anybody without the approval of Parliament. So the president is not as powerful as people would want to.
What do you say to people who say that the judiciary has quote-unquote cadre judges, people who have the ear and eye of the president?
So why would somebody be considered a cadre just because somebody was in politics? How else? Because there are many people who have been in politics and they have acted differently. I'll name Justice Mulenga was a member of the Democratic Party. I think at one time, chair, I may be wrong on this. He served in the NRM government when the NRM was the only party statutorily. He served as the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and he was appointed to the Supreme Court. And his record is there for everybody to see. Justice Kanyehamba, Justice, my immediate predecessor. For me, I argue that having been in all the three arms of government is a bonus. It's actually beneficial. If somebody tilts towards, confuses judicial responsibility with political belief, that person is not fit to be a judge.
What do you say to people who say if a presidential election petition emerges from the oncoming presidential election that we're going to have, that you shouldn't be on the bench that listens to that presidential petition? Mostly because you're doing defense counsel.
I would want to know why I shouldn't be on the bench. And I will ask them, you've never raised this, why me? Because Mulenga was on the bench of presidential election petition, so was Kanyamba, so was Katurebe. I'm just mentioning the ones. So was Sekoko, who was a member of parliament in the Obote II government. So I say, why me? And then I'll tell them that at least I have proven my independence, even when I was in politics.
It's now 25 years since the Constitution was promulgated. You were in the parliament that promulgated our Constitution.
I was in the Constituent
Constituent Assembly. And
I was privileged to be.
Yes. What is your take? Do you think that the Constitution has lived the durability it's supposed to live?
I castigated everybody who ever amended the Constitution. That in about 10 or 15 years, we have 5 amendments of the Constitution, and yet this Constitution, the 1995, of all the Constitutions we've had, the Independence Constitution, the Pigeonhole Constitution, the 1967 Republican Constitution, and this one, none of them compares with the time that was taken, the involvement of the people of Uganda in the making of this Constitution. So I asked, in my judgment it is there, I asked the question, what is it that has happened? What is new, what is different that will make the people of Uganda change from what was put in the Constitution for us to amend? The mistake made in the Constituent Assembly was not to entrench, not to secure, not to make it difficult for anyone to amend the provision on term limit. Yeah, that one really, I would take responsibility like anybody else who was in the Constituent Assembly, that we should have secured, we should have entrenched that provision. But what I wept for this country for was the lifting, the removal of the term limit. I think that is where we lost as a country.
You regard some of the law scholars like Oloka as very revered scholars, and they've also had opinions to suggest that the basic structure of the Constitution has been done away with completely. The presidency the executive has a lot of power at the moment, and they have literally appointed everyone that exists, but also their hand is very evident in the legislature. And by that suggestion, they say there's a political and constitutional crisis.
No, does Professor Loka, my OB, does he say which amendment of the Constitution has given the president more powers?
Two of them.
Yes.
In 2000, the amendment of the term limit to start with, and then he predicted the removal of the age limit before it happened. And he said that when it happens, then there will be no question about the fact that there's a constitutional crisis.
Many people told me, even told us, that we were the only people in whom the people of Uganda had hope to block Museveni from a life presidency. So I asked the question, how would we block Museveni from a life presidency? By rejecting the amendment by Parliament lifting the age limit. Do you see the fallacy?
The manner in which the amendment of the age limit was done, the thumping of members of Parliament by members of security who belonged to the executive. The members voted with their arms and crotchets is this something that really was normal in a democracy? Is it a democracy you'd be proud of?
One, you'd be surprised to know that on that, everybody, we were unanimous that it did not impact, it did not influence the decision by Parliament to come up with the amendment. As a matter of fact, true, again, you read my judgment, I was very harsh on the security operatives, the security forces. They needed not have gone to Parliament. But soon thereafter, Parliament reconverged, considered, and it was even a bigger number than the day when these security people intervened. And people voted the way they wanted. So yes, we condemn, but we have to weigh. For me, if it had influenced, if, for example, because of the intervention of the security, the attendance of Parliament had dropped down from 300 to 200, my decision would have